One of the many reasons for you to seriously think about writing your own book is that books always outlive their authors, at times for many generations. Today, we still have books like Things Fall Apart, which was written in 1958 by ACHEBE, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, who died in 1970, A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, who died in 1870, and Dream of the Red Chamber by Cao Suchin, who died in 1763. Those authors passed away a long time ago, but their books still live on. If you have a story, an idea, useful knowledge, and experiences, you have to start thinking of writing a book someday so that generations after you can learn from them. But how do you write a book? An experienced writer and editor, Ajao, shares 4 tips on how you can get to put your own book together whenever you are ready to do so. Please enjoy this. Joke, thank you for joining us on Channels Book Club.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here.
It's a pleasure having you. What's the first step? Somebody wants to write a book.
Okay. A lot of people want to write. Things are going in their mind, and how do they start? I'll say the first thing to do when you want to write a book is to decide which genre you want to write. For instance, you want to talk about your experience on a certain matter, maybe a trauma. You can decide, okay, I'll do fiction, write it in form of a story, or you can decide to make it like a memoir. So you have 2 choices. It's the same thing you're trying to pass across. So you can choose your experience to be narrated in form of a fiction, or either or non-fiction.
Those are the 2 broad categories, right?
Those are the broad categories.
Fiction
and non-fiction, yes.
Okay.
So under fiction, you have things like short novels, novellas. In novels you have satires, comedy, tragedy,
drama,
thrillers, all of those things, romance. They're all under fiction, novels particularly. And then in non-fiction, you have management books, self-help books that talk about how to do this, how to get better in career. And then you have things like autobiographies, biographies, memoirs, in fiction. And then
in non-fiction.
Sorry, non-fiction, I mean.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Then poetry, right?
Poetry.
Things like poetry.
Yeah, poetry seems to be in a category of its own. Okay. Yeah, so poetry, of course, it's so inspirational for many people. And recent times, people have told stories about what had happened in the past using poetry. Okay. Like I know some people from the Niger Delta have written poems, and it's just to tell the story of the sufferings of the people there. Okay. And they passed across their message in their own way. So
first step is I need to determine what type of book I want to write.
Exactly.
What type of book? So fiction, non-fiction. If it's fiction, do I want to write drama? Do I want to write thriller? Do I want to write romance? If it's non-fiction, do I want to write an autobiography or a memoir? Or okay, interesting. Now, so I've decided on what I want to write. What is next?
Okay. What's next? You have to create a writing schedule of a sort, because for a lot of people, sitting down to write is kind of challenging. So they may have to choose certain hours, say 2 hours in the day, which is convenient for you when you examine your itinerary, and then stick with it. If you choose to have it, maybe not daily, maybe twice a week, but make sure you keep to that time and keep writing at those particular times, so that when you gather everything together, you will have a volume from which you can begin to sort your thoughts. Now, for some people that feel, okay, how do I start writing? Where do I get inspiration from? Inspiration could come from events, occasions. You may be going on the road, and something unusual will happen around you. You could just take that as as something. Yeah, it will inspire you into maybe the next line of thoughts. That's why it's good, as somebody that is intending to write, to carry around your notepad and your pen. Or well, like I do, I carry I use my notepad in my phone. Okay. I just go to the memo pad there. Once I see anything or I feel some thoughts come into my mind, I just put them in. Yeah. And that's how I keep having an accumulation of materials for whatever I want to write.
Okay, so I've decided what I want to write. I have a plan. What is next?
Okay, what is next? One of the things, I'd just like to say, one of the things one should also think ahead of time is your publishing option. Because a lot of people leave it towards the very end and begin to run around when their book is ready and tell you, they tell me, Joke, what do I do next? You know. But the thing is, about the time you've decided the genre you're working on, and then you've had a schedule for yourself, begin to think also of your publishing option. You could do vanity, you could do the traditional publishing, and then you could self-publish. Self-publish, you know.
Okay, so that's very important to plan publishing.
Yes.
Most people start thinking of publishing only after they've finished writing.
Yeah.
Now, I know what I want to write. I have a plan. I've decided on how I'm going to publish it. What's next?
Okay, begin to write.
Begin to write.
Yes.
Simple.
That's just, you know, many people have thoughts running all over their head, and in fact, some people have 10 books running at a time. That is how bad it is. But like I think I also fall into that category. What I do is just create slots for all the books that are running in my head at the same time, and then begin to put the materials there. Like on my laptop, you begin to put the materials under each one as they're coming, as you're writing as a part-time. If you may schedule and say, okay, now next week I'm doing this book, the week after I'm doing the other book. Of course, it's not a very good thing. It's not often too tidy to have too many at a time. 2, probably 3 for the pros, the masters, would be okay. But just make sure that you are writing. And as you're writing, you'll be writing your first draft. The first draft, it's very smart to write per page. And that per page, you probably be revisiting it thrice. That means if you write a full page, go through it like twice or thrice. Then don't bother rewriting it again once you have done that. Or a full chapter, when you're through with the chapter, don't go through it more than twice or thrice, because you're still going to have to go through afresh. Okay. So that's your very first draft.
Okay. So, so I'm guessing that after you've done your first draft, you have to do a second draft and a third draft.
Definitely.
And I'm guessing the next thing to do will then be to edit. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. The last part, which is the editing, is just to make sure that everything is comprehensive and total. Now, most of the times, every writer will need an editor, because the truth is you cannot see everything at a time. No matter how you see it, nobody can see everything at a time. That's where the professional steps in. And the editing just has to be done to make sure the paragraphing, the sequence is perfect.
Joke, unfortunately, we don't have so much time. We'll have to end it here. Thank you very much for joining us on Channels Book Club.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. As we wind down on the show, recently Ken Saro-Wiwa Jr., the son of renowned Nigerian environmental activist Ken Saro-Wiwa, who was executed more than 20 years ago, died in London. According to his family, he passed away after suffering a stroke at the age of 47. Ken Saro-Wiwa Jr. was a journalist who became an advisor to Nigerian presidents. In 2005, he was selected by the World Economic Forum as a young global leader, and also served on the Africa Advisory Council for the Prince of Wales Rainforest Project. He wrote for The Guardian in the UK, The Washington Post, The New York Times, and National Geographic in the United States. Wiwa produced and narrated television and radio documentaries for the BBC and CBC, and wrote commentaries for National Public Radio. His memoir of his famous father, titled In the Shadow of a Saint, won the 2002 Huston Wright Non-Fiction Award. He was certainly a man who walked his own path and made his country proud. We pray that his family will be comforted. As always, we'll be happy to get your comments and feedback through any of our social media platforms displayed on your screen. I am Olakunle Kasomo. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.